All right, everyone, welcome to the Sacred Lovisa podcast, July 31st, 2022. Don't forget to follow all our pages, Sacred Lovisa page, The Box, News for Us World, News for Us World Fringe Division, and many, many more. Um, Also, like our pages, but don't forget to follow so you can get notifications for our lives. Also, check out our Bonfire store. So let me just play this little intro that we put together for you guys. Welcome, everyone, to Sacred Louisa podcast, July 31st, 2022. Let's begin. Jen, would you like to do your fun facts segment?
Sure, I'd love to. I just like to say that just hearing that is like a brethren call. It's call, it's like call. It's time to unite to fight for our children. That's what I think of when I hear it, the brethren call. Yeah, sure, I'd love to.
Would you like to come on camera,
I
or are you
I
not ready to?
I can, but I
Okay.
can share my screen as well.
Yeah, of course. Of course you can.
But I'm not sure about the audio because I'll be reading it. So
Yeah,
I
go
don't
ahead.
know
No, you're fine. Just you
if
can
this
read
is
it. You
fine.
don't need the eyes. You're going to read it. That's fine. It should be fine.
Well,
It should work just fine if you're sharing your screen. No problem.
okay. First, I'd like to go into 15 surprise things about Adolf Hitler. Adolf Hitler, 141 is his actual IQ level. Who was Adolf Hitler? Hitler was a German politician who led the Nazi Party, Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945. He initiated World War II in Europe and invaded Poland in September 1933. Although he was a cruel leader, he used to dream to be an artist. Here are 5 things you never knew about Hitler. Hitler wanted to be an artist when he was young. Although Hitler's IQ test score was estimated at 141, he failed the application round for the Art Institute's Vienna 2 times, 1907 and 1908. Then he left school when he was 16 without any certifications. Hitler fought for the army in the World War I for 4 years, and he was decorated for bravery, receiving Iron Cross, second class in 1914. Hitler used to be homeless, and he had to live on Vienna streets for 4 years. He earned money by selling the postcards, which were made by himself. The life of Hitler. Hitler was a vegetarian. His father, named Alois Gerber, but Hitler changed his name to Alois Hitler in 1876. Hitler suffered from flatulence, and he had to use 28 different medicines to treat this disease. His girlfriend, finally his wife, Eva Braun, used to suicide 2 times in order to attract his attention. Hitler did not waking up early. He did usually wake up at 2 p.m. Hitler had a portrait of Henry Ford, who was founder of Ford Motor Company. Ford was an inspiration of Hitler at the time. Hitler addicted to movies, especially loved Markiga Rake, a Germany actress. Hell Hitler Dance was inspired from cheerleaders. Hitler was nominated Peace Nobel Prize in 1939.
Jen,
Hitler hated.
How many more facts are there on this? Because I want to get on to the next 3 people because we got 3 more people. I don't want to keep keep it short and simple. All right.
Okay. So he hated the dentist. He got halitosis, gum problems. His first love was Jewish girl Stephanie Isaac. He wrote a lot of poetry for her. He had a high IQ score and a high online become popular all over the world. It's really amazing to people that can experience IQ effectively. I'll skip. How about I skip to
go to Tesla. Don't keep with the go to Tesla and then do the one after that, and then the last one, the Marilyn Manson one that you wanted to do.
Okay, yeah, it's a little bit shorter. Okay, so what?
Just to read 2 or 3 facts from each person after going through their little brief overview. Okay.
Okay. Well, his IQ was between 160 to 310. It's obvious that yeah, it's going to be hard just to read that.
Let me read it for you then, for our viewers. Go ahead and scroll up, because I can pronounce most of those. Jen, scroll up.
Yeah. Okay.
To the part where your Tesla is, the top of it.
This is the top right here.
All right, there we go. Nikola Tesla. Go down. Jen.
Yeah.
Go down. I can't say. Okay, there we go. Right there. Stop. Nikola Tesla's IQ is estimated from 160. Go back up. Jen, just send me the link and I'll read it that way.
Let me go ahead. I'll come back. Okay.
All right. Sounds good. Go to the next one then.
Isaac Newton.
Just read it for our viewers because your screen's freezing up.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay.
Just read it. It'll be fine.
How about this? Okay. I'll just read it. I gotta go
Stop sharing your screen first, Jen. There we go. Oh, stop sharing your screen first. Now go ahead and read it.
All right, let's start again. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, sorry, folks. We're just having a few little minor technical difficulties. That's all. Her internet connection's been acting up. It's not uncommon for us to have these kinds of issues or even interference during the show, or even in the prep up to the show.
Yeah, my very body. But
Whenever you're ready, Jen, go ahead and start.
Okay.
You lose it. Hello, Jen. You're cutting out pretty bad again. Can you hear us? Let's come back to you after because your internet's cutting out really bad. We can not even understand you.
I'll wait until the end.
We'll wait. We'll come back to you, Jen, because it's cutting out really bad. We can barely understand a word you're saying. We'll come back to it in a minute when your connection's being stable. Jen or Angie, why don't you go ahead and segue into your segment real quick, and then we'll after that we'll go and get the updates from Dan and Liz.
We'll start my video.
All right, sounds good.
Juvenile Family Court Judges. Who ever heard of that? National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges. Who ever heard of that?
I have.
Very few people, right? Very few people. National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges, what?
Is a membership.
Is a membership organization. You know what that means? They got a private membership that they pay money to. Mm-hmm. And look what they do. What do they do?
Of courts.
Of courts.
Handling abuse, neglect.
Handling abuse, neglect,
juvenile delinquency,
and
other cases.
So who's handling the cases? Judicial courts like the Superior Court or the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges? You see this? A private membership association that works as a trust is taking your kids, making money from a federal corporation together that's not the government. And then they're taking that money and they split it up between the judges and attorneys and different people. And the way that they get you and make you think they're government is they take a percentage of that and donate it into the state treasury. Donate it. So when it comes to child support, Title 4D, and Title 4E, which is for adoption and stuff like that, what they're doing is they're running a private business, making you think you're in a court, making you sign a contract with them. You know how they say, sign this or you'll never see your kids again. That's so it can go on the record, so later on they can say they agreed to it. If you look up in the Black's Law Dictionary 1 through 4 and you look up the word adoption, what you're going to find is common law is the law of the land. I got 1 minute left. Common law is the law of the land. It is the highest law. There is no law higher than that. Look at Article 7 of the Bill of Rights and it'll prove it. So any court that is going by common law, no other court, the Supreme Court of the United States, no other court can judge those facts again. It is final. Now, why is this important? Because these people are stealing your little ones, acting like it's a court of record, but it's a private business that they're contracting you into. And if you look at Black's Law, you'll find that there is no such thing of adoption in the common law. So they're not taking your kids by law, they're taking your kids by trickery. And the fact that the police officers don't have the knowledge to know that they're running a scam and running a business, and when that clerk, not judge, when that ministerial clerk gives an order, which he's getting paid money on, if you look up Toomey versus Ohio, you can't do it. But when he signs that signature or gives that blank minute order, that's not an order, and that cop goes and takes your kid, you'll find out that they're just committing fraud against you and tricking the officer, and all of them have no immunity and are liable to you. And I'm done.
Okay, and this is what it says on their webpage.
Okay, go ahead and read
The
it. Would you
vital
like
and
to read it for
important
us?
work of the
Oh, there you
National
go.
Council of Juvenile and Family
Never
Court
mind, you got
Judges, NCJFCJ, began in 1937 when a group of judges came together to improve the effectiveness of the nation's juvenile courts. Over the past 80 years, the NCJFCJ has sought to meaningfully improve practice and policy in juvenile and family courts. The NCJFCJ is the oldest judicial membership organization in the nation and serves approximately 30,000 professionals in the juvenile and family court system, including judges, referees, commissioners and court masters. Every year, the NCJFCJ hosts more than 300 trainings, webinars and meetings, including 2 national conferences, where judicial officers and justice professionals learn innovative and leading-edge best practices in juvenile and family law. The NCJFCJ also offers premier national faculty engagement and collaborates with state and tribal court systems across the country. For those involved with juvenile, family and domestic violence cases, the NCJFCJ provides abundant resources, knowledge and educational opportunities to improve the lives of families and children seeking justice.
What do you guys think of that? Pretty interesting to find out, isn't it?
Very interesting for sure.
So they're a business and they need your permission. You need a contract with them. So all of this is, and where have we seen this? All of this is fake and these orders aren't real, because prime example is when they came out to my house and those orders were fake. That's exactly what this is.
Whoa. They didn't say the orders were fake. They just said they couldn't be verified.
We verified. Okay, so, but that's because of this, all of this, it all ties in together.
I mean, I agree with that gentleman who was talking from the TikTok video. You know, these ministerial officers are signing minute orders that people are thinking are actual court orders. A lot like the court order that Donald Trump had against Stormy Daniels for the enforcement of $300,000. And then when he filed for an injunction against her, the courts were like, you just got a court order. You don't have a court judgment. We can't verify this. It does the exact same thing.
So the minutes don't hold up.
Yeah, I mean, for like in a court of record, and most people don't really know how this works. Like even a lot of attorneys don't really know how this works. But in a court of record, no judgment can be passed until the clerk, the high clerk, which the high clerk is the most powerful individual in any courthouse. Okay, it's not a judge. It's not somebody sitting in the judicial branch. It's the high clerk for sure. And it's just for the courthouse that's theirs, right? Like judges are on circuits, they go around. But a judge can't do anything without the high clerk signing off on it. And this is an old common law safeguard, because high clerks are basically like one of the people, whereas the judicial officers, even back, you know, in 1100, right after William the Conqueror conquered England, or London really, but when he would send his judges out on circuit, you know, they weren't one of the people. They didn't have to live in the town, right? So those people, the people who don't have to live with the people that they're judging, they don't care about violating their rights so much. But the clerk knows that as soon as the judge leaves and as soon as the judicial or the king's military leaves, you know, the police force or whatever, they're going to get it from the people if they did them wrong or did them dirty somehow.
Okay.
Ooh, get them, boy. Get them. About to get me started.
So basically, like a minute order is just whenever the court makes an order, it's a minute order. When the clerk signs off on it and puts it into the roll, right? The judgment roll or the judgment scroll. Like if you go into a court and you ask to look at their judgment scroll, they should bring it out to you. It is public record. But it's a lot like a Torah roll, right? I mean, they still do it the old-fashioned way. They've done it the same way ever since time immemorial. And in fact, if you go into like the registry of deeds and stuff and you actually pull the actual books, they still bind their own books. They still sew their own covers on and everything. I mean, it's pretty interesting. But yeah, I mean, a court order or court judgment doesn't have the full force and effect of law. It's not quote unquote executable until it's upon that judgment scroll. You know, and this is exactly why, just like when they came out there to try to get Delilah, what did they keep saying? They kept saying, hey, just come with us.
They kept trying to get me to agree.
Right.
If you just go along with us, if you just go with us. And I mean, he kept saying it over and over.
And they all
let
say
you
that.
Turn around and come right back. What's the harm? You know, just work with us. Just consent to the tip, you know?
Make things
just
easier.
No, I told him he could have a seat.
So why is that that order that's not enforceable with the force of law? Why is that different in, say, a family court, more specifically a dependency court or CPS issues?
What do you mean?
I mean, it almost sounds like good news to people that might be hearing it for the first time, but why is that not necessarily the case in, like, say, mine?
Well, I mean, I'll tell everybody, it would have been really good news if you were hearing this back in 2018, because back in 2018, for the most part, from coast to coast, the courts would respect when a man or a woman went in there and started performing law.
Right.
I can't say that anymore.
Right. But the thing, what I was getting at with dependency court, CPS issues, things like that, you don't typically end up in that court until they already have what's yours, you know, until they already have the leverage and the gun to the head. So even though it's not enforceable, it's already been enforced to the degree necessary, really.
By trickery.
But I mean, I'll even say, even in cases like that, 2019, I'd still see the state give people their kids back.
Yeah. You know, when they took mine?
You know, I mean, the real fact is that due process of law is just so simple. And once somebody starts to get it, you know, it's really not that difficult. So as soon as, you know, Carl Lentz became really popularized, I'm sure that didn't really help. I mean, it for sure made things kind of tougher on people. You know, they definitely wanted to see you do more than one or two tricks.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
So, but again, it's like when the idea started catching on, it's like, what are they going to do? Actually start acting lawful? It's like, okay, now the fraud's up, give back the money.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't think so. Not at all. So, Jonathan, tell the people what you told me today about when I was all frustrated. Okay, because on the update on my case is they've canceled the trial for next week and they haven't rescheduled one. You know, it's just up in the air for now. So, and I was frustrated. I wanted to go to a higher court. What'd you tell me the highest court was?
Well, I asked you what the higher court was. Like, what's the higher court that you want to go to? You know, and you're like, I don't know. The federal court, the appeals court, you know, some court has to be higher than them. And I was like, no, actually,
boss. I want to go to their boss.
Yeah, but you know, the county court is basically your highest court. The guy was talking about it in that TikTok just a second ago. He was saying a common law court, you know, which a judge can't find the facts in a common law court. Okay, the judge can't even find the law in a common law court. And if you don't trust me on that, just go back and watch the jury verdict come out the first time for Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Because the first time, the jury found all of the facts. And the judge said, now you better go back there and find the law. I mean, she actually said, you got to go back there and assign some type of liability, which is the law, right? That would be the judgment. And so, but that's the highest court in the land, just like he was talking about. No judicial officer, no officer of the state can second guess any fact that a jury finds in a particular case. And that's really important because finding the facts is the really kind of difficult part about law. Like once you decide what the facts are to a case, the law is really easy to apply, which is why anybody who gets a ruling that they don't like should always ask for the findings of facts and the conclusions of law. Because typically, if you don't like a ruling, there's probably some facts on the record that the judicial officer is not going to recognize because it would change what the conclusion of law would be. Anyways, what I was telling Angela is that there's really no higher court than the county court. The only higher court than the county court is the court of public opinion.
And what's the guy's name we learned that through?
How could you forget? Say his name.
Forget. Oh my goodness, what is his name?
George Floyd.
No. No, the guy from the college.
Bob Jones.
Bob Jones, yes.
Bob
we learned this
Jones.
from Bob Jones, right?
Same thing.
Yeah, because the Supreme Court ruled against them back in what, 83, 84?
I think it was 83.
But the Supreme Court ruled against them and tried to forcibly get them to comply with, I think, maybe the Civil Rights Act or something. Anyways, they didn't comply with it until the 2000 election when Bush was running in the primaries, and then they got so much hate from public opinion that they still had this racist policy at their school that they discontinued it.
Yeah, public opinion, huh?
Public opinion.
So is that how we
That whole thing's an
control over
interesting
this?
story.
What were
Yeah,
you saying, Ange?
I was asking, is this how we get control over this? Them stealing our kids? Court of the people?
Yeah, I mean, I basically think that we're at that point, like, I mean, they've done a decent job of keeping it under wraps, and now they're just taking off the mask, and they're not really respecting any type of law. And the only way I can see for them to really get law back, like, not for them to really get law back, for society to get any type of law in general back. And this isn't the first time this happened, right? Like, this happened way back over 800 years ago when the British people, the British barons and lords, got together and put a sword to King John's throat and said, hey, you're going to sign this piece of paper, you're going to recognize the rights that we've recognized for years, or we're going to run you through. And of course he signed it, and he said, oh, well, I signed it under duress, so it didn't really count. And within a year he died from dysentery because people wouldn't even throw his crap over the side of the wall of the castle. What do you think happened to all of the people who were on his side? Like all of the people who were supporting him around the country? My guess is somebody probably got him.
Right.
The American Revolution's another good point in history where, people over in Britain and the British subjects living in the British Isles, well, they had all of the rights and freedoms that free people enjoy in a free civil society. But the people over here in the colonies, they were having their rights stripped from them. They were very upset about it. And I just wish for everybody to think about this. They were really upset about a 3% tax, a 3% tax on goods and services. They went to war over that. I don't know about anybody else, but I know if I go down the street here and get a pack of cigarettes, they're going to charge me a 7% sales tax.
On your cigarettes? That's ridiculous.
Yep. But most people who are working are getting charged 30% of their income, even though it's actually technically their labor.
That's interesting. That's really interesting. So tell me, how does this membership, these judges being a private membership organization, what does that change?
Well, I mean, the first things first, you can't even really call them judges. I mean, like calling people bar associate members who make their own little private membership association, and they call them judges, they call themselves judges because they want you to call them judges. Calling those people judges, to me, would be a lot like me going and calling Anna Von Ritz a judge, or the guy who talks about being a postal judge. It's like, those people aren't judges. They're not appointed as judges. They don't have lifetime tenure. These people, they're just ministerial clerks at best. And I would say fraudsters and little devils.
Well, how are you to know the difference if you have one of these judges or a real judge?
Real judge is a jury.
That's true, huh?
Yeah, when you have a
answer.
real judge, you're facing all 12 of them.
That's a good answer.
Yep.
Any other time it's what, administration? Like administrative court?
Absolutely. Any other time it's administration.
Mm.
Yeah, any other time that you're not before a jury, you are in a Article 1 court, not an Article 3 court.
And the difference?
The difference is that an Article 3 court is a court of law. An Article 1 court is a court that's created by the legislature and ran by the executive branch. So it's kind of like what I've talked about with you before, how with the judiciary, because of the separation of powers, the legislature cannot legislate something that actually expands or contracts the judiciary's powers, like their lawful powers as the judicial branch of government, right?
Right.
So, but they can write things to expand or contract the legislative courts, or to create the legislative courts or executive courts, or to abolish them. So those courts would be like criminal court, right? That would be a good example of an executive court, or like tax court or bankruptcy court. These are all courts that are legislatively created. They're not judicial in any type of way. They don't actually have judicial proceedings, and they don't move under the process of due course of law. Your family courts are the exact same way. Right? Like in family courts, you have administrative agencies, typically CPS or DSS or what was some other ones that they have? CHP, maybe? No.
DHHS.
Yeah. So, but anyways, these are agencies. And basically within the agencies kind of set their own rules, right? And the agencies kind of set their own procedures and their own proceedings. And then they go in and they tell a judicial officer, well, a ministerial officer, somebody wearing a robe, like, hey, we did all the things that we wrote down that we're supposed to do before you go ahead and sign this and give us their children.
Yep.
That's exactly how an administrative court works.
It's fraudulent.
Well, I mean, yeah, when you're taking people's kids, for sure, that's fraudulent. But for instance, like when the EPA is going and putting fines and sanctions on BP for the oil spill that happened in the Gulf, then no, it's not fraudulent. That's exactly how I want an administrative court to work. Like there's a time and a place and a purpose for all of these things, right? And where it really becomes harmful and starts interfering with people's rights is when you start, it's like the Declaration of Independence and the Declaration for the Causes and Reasons for Taking Up Arms Against Great Britain. Both of those documents cite that, one of the main complaints that they had was that the admiralty courts and the maritime courts were usurping their jurisdiction at common law from the legislature. Like the legislature was basically creating legislation to give maritime and admiralty courts jurisdiction that basically should have been had at common law, right?
Right.
That's basically the same thing you have going on here, except that you don't have maritime admiralty courts usurping the jurisdiction at this point, contrary to what some sovereign citizens would have you try and believe. But you have administrative law courts usurping that jurisdiction that should be at common law.
And that's where all the confusion comes in.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a pretty big source of it. Another really big source of confusion is, again, kind of the education. It's the fact that even when attorneys graduate law school, they don't understand some of the simple things that I'm talking about right now. You know, like the biggest harm in my mind is what we're talking about right now, and that is that people have been miseducated, most of them, for their entire lives, because they trusted adults, right? And the adults didn't exactly know what was going on. And so most people look at these processes that you're talking about and we're calling fraudulent in the courts, and most people think that they're judicial processes.
Because they don't know any better.
Because they don't know any better.
And that's how they derive their power, is people validate them by participating, you know. So the biggest tragedy is, yeah, like he's saying with the education, is people don't understand the difference between law and the shit going on.
Right.
And even the people who go to law school, you know, the people that you're supposed to go and hire to get advice for, to help you out, like the ones who really do know what's going on, they know that they can't really do anything about it. And then everybody else, the people who don't really know what's going on, well, they're still promoting it just like the system wants them to. You know, like the people who graduate law school and haven't figured these things out for themselves, and most people won't. Like most attorneys will not figure this stuff out unless they actually practice or have some form of practice in an actual real court of law. But the number of attorneys who actually practice or have some form of practice in an actual real court of law these days is dwindling.
Well, I have a theory. If we stopped hiring attorneys, then we would get, you know, that would be half the problem solved. If everybody just stopped hiring them, nobody used them, there's half of it gone.
Well, and I think that that's a really, really good idea. But the thing is that I think it's a little more than that. I think it's more than people just quit hiring attorneys. I also think that people have to start exercising their rights, because of that maximum of law. He who does not exercise his rights has none.
Yes, I believe that too.
You know, and I was thinking about that yesterday, and where I sometimes get a little bit of resentment towards everybody, you know, and that's, you know, he who does not exercise his rights, then they have no rights. You know, it's like, if you may feel like, oh, well, I'm just going to hire an attorney anyway and just play the game anyway. But that's just one more way that somebody else is losing their rights, you know?
Yeah, that's just screwing everybody else over.
Right, exactly. And I mean, so even if somebody that knows their rights, understands their rights, steps in there, well, if the last 5,000 people that came through there completely they crawled in on their knees, complying out their ass, you know, the guy that does no law that steps in there has almost, you know, no chance now.
Yeah. They'll put you on a terrorist list.
Right? Then they get escorted through the courthouse every time they show up.
Yeah, some shit like that, huh?
They won't let you put paperwork in with the clerk.
No, or give you a jury trial. That seems to be the next hurdle I'm trying to get to.
Well, and you know, I heard a lot of attorneys talking about this coming to the end of the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial, but they were talking about how miraculous it was that Johnny Depp actually got a jury for this trial and for this case, and how juries have been in the decline, and how the legal society in America is really trying to get rid of jurors and juries. And for the most part, among the general populace of the public, they have pretty good support for it, because most people don't really like participating in a jury anyways.
Yeah. Well, nobody wants to be on a jury. I wouldn't.
Oh, I'd love to be on a jury, but that's exactly why they'll never send me that invitation in the mail.
Man, and because you got to have a driver's license, then they start sending them to you.
Yeah. So that, yeah, that's my next hurdle. They're not wanting to give me a jury trial.
But he wanted to give you a judge trial.
Oh, yeah. That audio, that recording, you can give up your
You
jury
can waive
trial
a jury trial and get a judge trial. That's what he said.
Trial.
That's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see how that would be fair.
Now, JC, would you want a jury trial or a trial by jury?
In Angela's case, I would take either one, and I'm going to go ahead and guarantee that they're not going to give her a trial by jury.
Yeah, they're going to keep calling it on account of weather.
Well, how long can they
They're
do
going to
that?
keep calling the jury trial on account of weather.
How long can they do that to a person?
I thought you were supposed you had a right to a speedy trial.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, you also thought that you had rights, and then the legal society came along and said, "Psycho, like a."
Psych, just joking.
You know, I had my fingers crossed behind my back when I said that you actually had rights.
Yeah.
That means it doesn't count.
That's old school.
Yeah, it's pretty old school. You
But
know,
it,
and I mean,
but it applies, doesn't it?
yeah, and it's just gotten to the point where it's ridiculous, where the whole thing is pretty ridiculous. You know, I mean, it's like what you were just saying with Angela and having the right to a fast and speedy trial. And they haven't upheld that right for her, along with not upholding her right to face her accuser or be
Right.
informed of the nature of the wrong and the cause of the accusation, or really produce anything that's actually tangible that would justify a warrant in any type of capacity. And yet, at the end of the day, they still have the nerve to turn around and call her a sovereign citizen.
Because I was looking for a court
Well,
of
what
law.
does it make them? What does it make them then?
They're the sovereign citizens because what they're claiming she's doing is exactly what they're doing, thinking they're above the law.
Mm-hmm. I would agree with that.
Yeah. Trampling and all my all the rights I have, just yeah, they've been ruthless. So if I don't have rights, what does that mean for you guys?
We're in the same boat.
Yeah, I think that's why we're all like congregating here on this call, because we're all like, man, they took my rights too.
Yeah.
We have a right to remain silent. Anything we say
Yeah.
will end.
They arrest you now. Did you know they arrest you when you're not driving? For driving, they'll arrest you for driving a car when you're not driving.
Hey, did you
heard
know
that.
that they'll arrest you for remaining silent in a courtroom? I've seen it happen.
Oh my God! I thought that was their right to remain silent because they.
Oh,
they-
it was almost
Yeah.
laughable if it was not so sad. But as the judicial officer is arresting this man for remaining silent, okay,
Oh.
he tells him, he's like, you have the right to remain silent. And I think it finally just hit him that he's arresting him for exercising his right to remain silent. So he's like, okay. Even though you have the right to remain silent, that does not absolve you of this contempt of court that I'm arresting you for. So you can speak to me, but if you speak to me, I might just arrest you for contempt of court.
and really, and use
I mean,
it against you in the court of law.
Right? Yeah, if we ever found one of those. But definitely use it against you.
Wow. Damned if we do, damned if we don't.
It's set up that way. I'm convinced the whole system is just set up to take our kids.
It is. We have the right, the right to give our children to them whenever they want. That's what they think our rights are.
Well, I actually think that they think that you don't have any rights.
Oh yeah,
you
that's
know,
true.
and that they have the right to enslave you because they're the master race, however you wish to take that. And that's basically why I think that they do everything they do. And having children being taken from families and having families being taken, broken apart, and administrated, well, that's just what's always happened to slaves, right?
Well, don't they make more money doing that? They make more money ripping families apart than keeping them together.
Yeah, I mean, whenever I was a slave owner, it's like, you don't want to keep the slaves together. They might feel strong or empowered or love one another, you know, make it easier for them to get through all your overseery, officery, right?
Yeah, and surprisingly, the money part, as humongous as that is, and central core of the mission that it is not even necessarily the primary mission. The primary mission is to have control over everybody, you know, and you get to a point where it's like, you know, it gets violent trying to convince all these people of something that's not true. So, you know what, let's just get the next one in. Shift change coming in. Let's grab them at the door, you know, then they just believe what we tell them.
Hey, Jen, your sounds good. Do you want to do your fun facts real quick?
Yeah, I'm just about done. I didn't realize it was that long. You should have seen the one I was going to do, Stephen Hawkins, and that would have took me a minute. So
in the future, you should go over them before you pick them, so you know which ones are shorter or not.
But you know what though? But on the contrary, I just feel like I have to say everything because it's all important.
I know, but you got to remember that you don't. You got to remember we're on a limited time on this broadcast, so we got to keep as quickly as possible. Otherwise, people will lose interest.
Well, I don't know if they'll lose interest in this one. I got a pretty good one. But
cool.
Anyway, I'm just about done. I'm kind of, there's a few that are like number 1, number 2. So it's easy to do that. This one I'm kind of picking. So.
Okay. Sounds good.
Give me another, 10 minutes or so.
You got it. Well, how about we do it at the start of hour 2? Because it's we're almost at the 50-minute mark. Well, actually, we're 47:20. So we'll do it on the next hour. Start off at the next hour with that. I think it will be perfect. Okay. That'll give you at least 13 minutes.
Yeah.
Go ahead, you guys. I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to see if Jen wanted to do her fun facts real quick.
What are the fun facts?
Oh, last week she did something like that, and then she's going to do one every week.
Yeah, you missed it. I'll tell you about it. In just a second.
I got a fun fact.
Just a second. Go for it, sister.
Oh, Stephen and I can prove the spirit world now.
Oh my God! You tell them about the EVPs that we found on that investigator's audio. Oh wow! Holy crap!
Yeah, I still want to listen to it because.
Should I share some of it with the audience, Dottie?
If you want.
You want me to share the 3-minute segment that we got so far?
Not that long, but go ahead, Jim.
Can I say something? I think that this definitely applies because it is regarding children. It is said over and over in the tape. The recording about children. So go ahead.
First, tell our viewers what this audio recording is from and when it's from and how it was obtained first, and then we'll explain, segue into show the recording because I want them to understand the context behind it as well.
Okay, so the audio that we're going to listen to is actually a recording from my basement. I had a paranormal investigation team come in my house about 3 years ago, and they recorded this. So, it's been quite some time, but. Stephen and I were listening to it and they sounded like they were in reverse. So I was like, well, why don't we reverse them so we can understand them? And it worked. It's crazy. You're muted.
We're going to play for our, I know, I just realized that. We're going to play for our viewers. I'm going to play the Sal, listen here, freedom. Let's play that one real quick. That's a short one.
I think it's just freedom. Yeah. But anyway.
So this is 2 separate clips, but we think it's the same spirit, but 2 separate portions. But I put them together because it sounds like they go together. But anyway, so the first one right here sounds like the voice is saying,
"Oh yeah," and my house was a speakeasy.
We're still putting it
together.
That's
another thing.
And so yeah, we're still putting together. But what we found is that when played, in forward motion, it sounded like the spirit voices were all reversed or just gibberish. So Dottie had the idea. Well, why don't we put them in reverse and see if we get anything? Sure enough, we did everything when we put it the voices in reverse for the spirits. It made perfect sense. You can hear accents. We even hear at the very end one a British sounds like a British lady saying, "We want to know."
We want to know.
Bring our children.
There's
Uh-huh.
a
All right. Hold on. Let's play this real quick for our
my
viewers.
listen, my house was a speakeasy in the 20s, so that's another little key.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Play it, and then we can explain the history. It's very interesting.
Freedom.
I'm going to amplify it just a bit for our viewers.
Thousand freedom. Thousand freedom. Thousand freedom. Thousand freedom.
We're going to play it's just a small portion of this 3-minute segment one, but here we go, folks.
Now on.
You don't see it.
Why? Now on.
You don't see it.
Why?
Because I want to have the same one.
Okay.
Children into the
Get their own for them.
I don't know.
Oh, yes. Who's down here with us?
Sister.
The hope has purchased my career.
Sister, somebody. Is there a sister down here with us? What's your name?
Children until
What's your name?
change the mental change career.
Oh, whispers. Raises the hair on your neck.
What is?
Hey, Jacob?
When?
I thought I heard. Angel, Debbie, and Sarah are all sisters.
That's true.
That's just a preview for our viewers. We're going to actually air the majority of that on next Wednesday's episode of News for Us World Fringe Division podcast, where we cover such topics and stuff. So we will be presenting that for you guys. Then we got a good solid 45 minutes of EVP recordings to sort through. I've already reversed 10 minutes worth of it. We got to do the rest, but we're going to air that on Wednesday, you guys. So that's something to look forward to. Could you guys clearly hear the word children and several other things they were saying in there? I know I could.
Yes.
So do you want to, are you about ready for your, or no, you need another 10 minutes, Jen?
Yeah, I'm about ready. I'm
okay.
Gonna write this up.
Go ahead and just briefly, until she's ready to go, talk about your house, Dottie, and then a little background on it for our viewers. Unmute yourself.
Well, there's not much more to say than it was built in the 20s. It was a speakeasy, and there was a lot of things that would go on here when I called those people in. So I don't know. It's an old house with a lot of spirits. But that was a lot. I don't know. What did you hear, Stephen? 87 spirits were there.
Yeah, at one point, I don't think we got to that point because I think it was after the 1 minute 30-second mark in that audio. But I can go back and play it for our viewers if they'd like to hear it. I think that'd be good. And then I'll play the "We want to know" part after that.
Bring our children.
1 second, you guys. Let me get the right audio. All right, here we go.
true. How many of you are down here? How many are down here? Give me a number.
Suspicion for them. 87 people. 87 people. 87 people. 87 people.
Did you guys hear that? What did it sound like he said to you?
Hey, Paul. Hey, Sal. Like it
No,
was
no, no.
like-
This is, I think this is where he says 87 people is what it sounded like to
Oh,
me.
I heard hey, Paul. Hey,
I
Sal.
didn't do that.
87 people.
Yeah.
87 people. 87 people.
I didn't
Amplify
get the
it.
number. Yeah, some people.
But if that was playing forward, it would sound like they were talking backwards.
Right. Well, see, he was asking the question. So what I did, I didn't put the investigators' voices
No, I
in
know
reverse.
you-
I just kept it in place and then reversed only the spirit audio because, but it sounds like an answer to his question. That's what it does to me.
right, but when you play it forward, it doesn't sound like
Right.
that at all.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
87
So,
people.
like,
No.
I think you should.
I'm going to reverse it so people can hear how it sounds originally. Okay. You hear that, people? Now reverse.
87 people.
Yeah, that's how it recorded originally. Isn't that crazy?
Yep.
I don't know. At one point, they say the Supreme Court.
Yeah. Like they're coming or something.
I think that was in the 10-minute version. We the 3-minute. I don't think with that Supreme Court thing is in. I think it's in the after the 3-minute mark. But we're going to air that on Wednesday for sure. Let me get this here.
Are all sisters.
Yeah, that's true. How many of you are down here? How many are down here? Give me a number.
Suspicion for them. 87 people. Participation. Signed.
I need a number, guys. Come on. How many are down here with us?
Who is it? Ken said he thought he heard 9 or 6.
What she just said. Whisper said something like 9 or something.
It did
I
say
don't know.
that.
Pretty strange.
Kathy says 6.
Do you know my name? What's my name? Look.
And when I was
Somebody ran away? Now on.
And then I'm going to play the last segment from the very last of the actual full 45-minute clip that we have for our viewers so they can hear him say, "We want to know."
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to end it. This.
we want to know.
He wants to end it once they start talking.
We want to know. We want to know.
Flip it around.
I'm gonna amplify it first though.
I want to hear it the other way too.
We want to know.
Sounds like he.
Yeah, it sounds all in reverse, but that's what it sounded like originally on the original recording, on the original playback, and then we reversed it, and it sounds like this.
We want to know.
We want to know.
We want to know.
We want to know. want
That's
to know.
crazy.
B, we want to know.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I never imagined I'd ever have freaking EVP voices so clear and crisp as day.
I'm ready
We want to
to
know.
jump in whenever you guys are.
Go for it. Go for it.
Okay, this is
Jen. But
okay,
that
so
what we just played will be airing on our Wednesday Fringe Division podcast, folks, in case you wanted to know. All right, go ahead.
okay, this was about Adolf Hitler. He had an IQ of 144. He wanted to become an artist. He fought for the army in World War II for 4 years. He was homeless in Vienna and earned money by making postcards. He was a vegetarian. He had a picture of Henry Ford, in which he adored, and he hated the dentist. Nikola Tesla, he had an IQ of 160 to 310. He was an origin from Croatia engineer, able to speak 8 different languages, developed technology of controlling, inventing generator, electricity, FM radio, and remote control on his own. He fought with Thomas Edison throughout his life. His projects were funded by J.P. Morgan, and he later became his business partner. In the 1900s, Morgan invested 100,000 in Tesla's, I can't pronounce that. It's a tower. It's the transatlantic.
It's the Wardenclyffe Tower, I believe.
Yes, thank you.
Wardenclyffe.
Yes, Wardenclyffe Tower, a transatlantic wireless communication system that Tesla never completed. The suburban physicist died penniless in a New York City hotel room in 1942. He was ignored, and Thomas Edison received all the rewards of the light bulb invention. Throughout his life, Nikola Tesla helped register over 700 patents. He was suburban American, invented mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, physicist, and futurist who is best known for his contribution with the design of the modern alternating constant electricity supply system. And then okay, so then we have Charles Manson. Charles Manson has an IQ of 109. Jeff Gunn, the author of The Life and Times of Charles Manson, doesn't identify which tests were given was brilliant, as some had claimed. He cobbled together a pseudo-pathology by studying Dale Congreve and L. Ron Hubbard, and he had no sense of how to adjust his conduct, grooming habit, or conversion when dealing with the Hollywood producers who might have helped him realize his absolute goal to become a rock star, more famous than the Beatles. However, having 10 facts about Charles Manson you should know. He never actually killed anyone himself. He had a troubled childhood. Manson is a musician. He was obsessed by the Beatles. He had been denied parole 12 times. And that, I can go into the detail about the troubled childhood. You want me to go into the detail about? Okay, number one, he never actually killed anyone himself. He created the Manson family, a cult of flowers in the California desert in late 1960s. Manson chose 4 of his most obedient comrades to launch a killing spree. The first victim were guests at the house of film director Roman Polanski, who was away at the time. Manson's follower also murdered other people at other times and places, and Manson was also convicted for the deaths of the 2 other victims, Gary Hinman and Donald Shorty Shee. He had a troubled childhood. He was born to an unmarried 16-year-old Kathleen Maddox. For weeks, he was known as No Name Maddox until his mother decided to name him Charles. She married laborer William Manson, whose name the boy took. His siblings said he was a manipulative child who lied about everything. And had a penchant for violence. He spent most of his youth in and out of prison. and he actually spent time in a boys' home here in Terre Haute, Indiana. Manson is a musician. Before the killings, he was on the fringe of California music scene and even hung out with Beach Boys Brian Wilson and Doris Day's son, Terry Melcher. After he was charged with the killings, several songs written and recorded by him were released. Marilyn Manson and Guns N' Roses have both released cover versions of Manson songs. In 1993, Gulfin Records and announced that they would give the son of one of the Manson's victims $400,000 for every million copies of Guns N' Roses album to the Spaghetti Incident that sold. He was obsessed by the Beatles. Manson believed that there was to be an Armageddon sparked by racial tension when the Beatles released the White Album. His followers said he listened to it repeatedly and believed that the lyrics to Helter Skelter backed his theory. He had been denied parole 12 times. Manson was originally sentenced to death for his role in the killings. This was commuted to life imprisonment in 1972 when California temporarily eliminated the death penalty. According to the California Parole Board, he has had 108 serious disciplinary violations in prison since 1971 and has shown no remorse for the murders. I have more content to add to this later in depth. Anybody want another one?
How many more are there? Any requests, anybody?
There's Isaac Newton.
Do Isaac Newton. That's a good one. Yeah,
okay,
do that one.
Okay, sure. Okay, so Isaac Newton, his IQ was 190, which is pretty high. It says that it's moderately high. Robert Boyle was rated the greater scientist at the time, but his chemical and physical work was soon overtaken. So was Newton's work on light. His compulsory theory was displaced by early wave therapy and was different from modern quantum theory. He supposed that light in water or glass would be speeded up when it was actually slowed. Newton was also co-inventor of the libret of modern calculus, which itself had a long history of Newton's notation system was discarded. His most famous contribution was universal gravity. Everyone knew there was such a thing as gravity, a tendency for objects to fall. Galileo had clarified it, and even in medieval times, there were people who thought that there might be many centers of gravity rather than an artificial motion of just one. And Kepler had worked out the laws of motion centered on the sun, and with the obvious implication that it was the sun. And likewise, the relationship between the tide and the moon was suspected by Kepler, through Galileo unfortunately rejected it. Isaac Newton took 3 vital steps, correctly saying that an apple falling and the orbit of the moon were 2 aspects of a single force test fit. And despite apparent differences, working out in great detail what this would mean, how it would explain planetary motion. Doing the same for the tides, explaining why you get high tides when the moon is on the other side of the earth as well as when it was overhead. There were faults in even this. He could not exactly explain the moon's motion, which is actually an infinite sum, though excellent approximations are possible. He also thought that the solar system would fall into disorder on the basis of the observed shift in the orbit of Jupiter and Saturn. There is Leonardo da Vinci. This is a pretty interesting one. Leonardo da Vinci. He had a gift of talent at a very young age. He considered to be one of the best painters of all times. Two of his works, the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper, are the most famous paintings of all time. Virgin of the Rocks was another masterpiece, which was painted by Da Vinci. Among his drawings, Richard Van Man is regarded as a cultural icon. The Virgin and the Child with Saint Anne is another example of famous drawings.
How many more are there for him? Is this Isaac Newton, right?
Yeah, this is the last one.
All right.
And then this will be it. As far as intelligence was concerned, Da Vinci was the greater genius of times. His IQ test score estimated to be around 220. Leonardo not only was a masterful artist and an open-minded scientist, but also had a markedly alluring and equivalent conversationalist with a light-hearted character and attractive appearance. He was the genius of geniuses. Da Vinci himself said, "Anyone who conducts an argument by appealing to authority is not using his intelligence. He is just using his memory." In order to correctly estimate IQ score, you have to estimate how well someone would be able to answer the most difficult IQ style question. Da Vinci would not be any higher than 160 based on some simple observations. At least half Da Vinci's invention failed when tested. This does not show a high IQ at all. Da Vinci was not a super fast learner, main sign of a high IQ. Da Vinci tried to learn mathematics but did not really get very far. Da Vinci's works do not require a high IQ. Nothing Da Vinci did demonstrates that he had an IQ test score of 200 or higher, or even close to that. Da Vinci is so overrated that people think his IQ was higher than Newton's. But how could that be possible? Newton did things like solving Bryce hand problem and in a few hours. But what did Leonardo da Vinci do to demonstrate his intelligence? And there's actually a diagram here, but it's kind of hard to read. So that's it. I mean, I have more, but
I like that. That was awesome. Thank you, Jen, for sharing that.
Sorry about the.
No, you're fine. No worries. It happens. It happens. So, Dan, would you like to come on and give us updates about Lizzie's situation and give us updates on the case, please? You there, Dan?
Yeah, we're here.
Cool. Go ahead.
Put this stuff in and then we can do that. Unless you just want to update him while I go in. I'm gonna update you real quick. We're headed in here. I just came out of the hospital today. But anyway. So I went in. What happened was I went into. I don't know how much you said anything. If you said anything or not, Steven. Do you want me to start from the beginning of it all, or?
Yeah, just give us the updates. What happened like the last week or so, and then the updates you gave me, Liz, about the court. The court transcripts that you gave me. You sent me a few, like about a week and a half ago, give or take. Give them updates on that as well. But give them updates on what happened this last few days, though, for sure.
Yeah. I'm gonna start with the last case because I don't really remember much about those court papers right now. And I'll explain kind of why this is that I don't remember all this without pulling them back out when I say this part of it. Anyway, 3.5 days ago, I went into the ER and I was throwing up blood, keeping nothing down, no water, absolutely nothing. And so we didn't know what was going on. Well, they still discharged me doing the same thing. So we called the family doctor. She said, "You need to go right back in there." And in the middle of talking to her, I actually ended up with severe chest pain that it felt like a knife going right into the middle of my chest, like cutting my chest in half, and then kind of like a, this is my best way I can describe it, is like a spider web going on both sides out my chest. The same kind of pain, knife pain, cutting my chest in multiple pieces. And so we went back in. They still again wanted to release me, still not keeping nothing down, in chest pain. we called the doctor and she said, absolutely not. She said, I don't even know why they're trying to release you. She said, you're keeping nothing down. You're throwing up blood. Now you have chest pain. So what is their point to release you? And we said, well, they just keep on saying that there's really nothing that they can see. And there's no reason to keep me in and, just to run around. She said, oh no. She said, I'm calling in there. She said, you're going to be staying until we can figure out what's going on. So they admitted me, and then they discovered that I had septic. My blood septic, and I'm very highly anemic. And I kept nothing down until I was in, what was that, Wednesday or Thursday? We went in Thursday, I think. Thursday, I think, is the day we first went in. And Thursday night is when they admitted me, around like 11:30ish Thursday night. And I just got out today. But Friday, it was Thursday, I kept nothing down. Friday night was the first time I was able to even put just liquidy stuff down, like gravies, broth, and keep that down, water. And then, the next day it kept progressing, getting better. So then they took me off the IVs, and they still were, of course, running tests under the sun to figure out why, when they did a blood transfusion and an iron infusion, which I ended up code bluing on them twice with it. They did an iron infusion the first night, and they gave me the wrong blood type. You're going to have to shut the door, probably. They gave me the wrong blood type. I made positive, and they gave me A. So I immediately went into code blue. I wiped out. They weren't sure if I was going to come back. Then the next day, they did another blood transfusion, in which, Stephen, that was after I talked to you, whichever day I talked to you there, that very night. They did a blood transfusion, and I completely wiped out again.
Yeah, I remember that day.
Yeah. And that night, after I talked to you, like during the night, Stephen, they did another transfusion and used the wrong blood type again, and I code blued. So I code blued twice. And so then today, they also did an echocardiogram yesterday on me. And today, that echocardiogram, after releasing me, came back. And I have an AFib heart. So they said it wasn't really smart for them to release me today, but they didn't have that echocardiogram back. So they said they shouldn't have released me, but because I'm already released, they just want my heart kept up with very, very highly. And, on a lot of timing of keeping up with it and stuff. I also have my heart murmur that I had when I was a baby coming back. And the reason that they say that my body is really septic and highly, highly anemic right now is because I'm at the climax point pre-menopause. And my body, because of all the abuse and trauma that I went through, and my mom doing everything under the sun before she had me, my body is not coping well at all with going through early menopause. And then also the police officer beating me up to take the children had also a big impact on my heart, and the symptoms coming on with the septic and anemia that's going on. So sorry, Stephen, I don't really remember too much about those papers, because when I coded blued twice, a lot of the stuff that I remember before that, I don't even hardly remember.
Oh, no worries, no worries. I haven't even had a chance to look at it yet, so we'll look.
Yeah.
I'll look it over, and then we'll touch base and go over it later in the week, and maybe give people updates next week too.
Yeah, I also have a T wave on my heart, which is related to the AFib. It's just the way the lines for my AFib are going. So it's at this point the AFib is fairly not in the best shape. With all my health, I could very quickly kill out. Your brain is more than I am. How about you say more?
All right. Basically, in a nutshell, Stephen.
Go ahead.
Basically, in a nutshell, she AFib. She died twice. And they were her body, her BMI. She can only handle a 10.5, and they're trying to run her up to a 12 to 13 in iron, and it was way too much. And she code blue twice. If she would code blue the third time, she probably wouldn't have came back whatsoever.
First 2 times.
But we think it affected her brain to a point because she's having trouble with memory and things of that nature.
So she's having memory issues and stuff because of all this, huh?
Yep. Yeah. So they're damn lucky we're not pressing a malpractice on them because they gave her the wrong blood type and all that, which that in itself is enough to kill you.
Yeah, no, most definitely. So hey, so what's her status right now? How's she looking? They released her from the hospital, so she's doing better than she was yesterday. I take it.
Well,
a little not 100%, obviously, but
Lizzie is a trooper. I told her, Lizzie, just let me work, let me handle it. And Lizzie's like, no, I want to work or my body's going to go downhill even more. And the poor girl, by the end of the night, I was pretty much carting around in a shopping cart through the store.
oh wow.
Yeah. So they want her to have her face is still blue from when she code blue, is still partially blue. So she's not 100% out of the woods.
But she's definitely well enough to where they released her. At least that's good news.
Well, if they would have known what they knowing now, they wouldn't have released her.
Oh shit. So okay, so tell our viewers basically what's going on then with that.
So basically, once the echocardiogram came back after that she was already released, they're like, oh shit, we shouldn't release you because that's when they found out about the T wave and the AFib. So her heart is not working properly.
Well, that's not good.
No. So. Yeah, she's supposed to be either using a walker, cane, or a wheelchair at this point. But you know, Lizzie, she's strong-willed. She runs until she drops. Yeah. So keep her in her prayers. That she
Liz
gets
is
better.
definitely a fighter. We'll be keeping her in our prayers for sure. And I'd like to ask our viewers to do the same. Keep Elizabeth Brown in your prayers. Pray for her to get a speedy recovery and get better and get justice for her, what happened to her kids.
Thank you, Stephen. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you guys back on and give you if Liz is unable to give updates, we'll have you give updates on her behalf, throughout the next several weeks and stuff as things progress.
We'll definitely do that. Thank you.
You're welcome, you guys. I know she's probably not feeling too hot, but thank you for giving us the update. I hope you get better soon, Liz. I hope you're feeling up to par. Try and take it easy, get some rest as much as possible,
Yeah, hopefully. The other thing y'all and everybody can pray for is that we can find a place soon because we're sleeping in a car that we're sitting straight up in, trying to sleep. So
yeah, everybody pray for them to find a place.
I mean, if we found a place, but we need help getting the funds together, which is $1,450. And it's a beachfront property for $750 a month, and you're never gonna find a beachfront property for $750
I wish
a month.
I had to GoFundMe up because he needs that money by the 4th, which is not very far away.
By the 4th, yeah, that's not too far out. Well, we could probably maybe set one up for you guys, maybe see till the 4th, but we'll see what we can do. I mean, I don't know. I mean, we've got a little bit of traction on the Bulls family one that we did, but I mean, we'll see. But I'll be more than happy to set one up for you guys if you want.
Thank you so much, Stephen. God bless you.
Yep.
Oh, Stephen.
Yeah.
There's one thing I need to let you know. The GAL is no longer.
Oh, yeah. You guys mentioned that yesterday.
Our attorney stepped down for the same reason. It's a legal case. So did the DSS attorney. And Lizzie demanded 48 to 72 hours for them to come up with the due process of law and jurisdiction for stop and assist. And we want our kids back. And guess what?
What?
We got a phone call. Where do you want your kids?
When? When was this?
This was what, the other day?
Look.
The same day she was in ER.
So you're getting your kids back then?
Well, what's happening is they wanted to know. Well, they know we can't come back, so they want to know who they can put the kids with that we know. Because
Gotcha. Okay.
now they want out of it because they know we got them by the balls.
Right. Well, that's good news. And I want to give our viewers updates on the Bowles family. They were granted trial reunification, and they currently have their kids back home with them, which is a
That is
blessing.
awesome.
So I think that I count that as a win. Of course, we should never stop
great.
fighting. People must hold these bastards accountable for what they've done. Even after getting your kids back, I encourage every one of you, the people that have gone through this kind of corruption, that have been subject to it, to keep fighting and hold them accountable. Even after you've got your kids back, keep gathering evidence, play the long game, take them down. That's what we got to do.
Just stay strong and keep fighting them. Do not back down. Never bend a bow to them.
Right.
Don't sign shit, because it's a known fact. If you're signing papers, you're contracted to them, and everything you sign, they get paid for.
Exactly. Dottie or Jen, you want to put your 2 cents in on any of that? What we heard about the updates from Elizabeth's case? Dottie, Jen, are you there? Hello. Hello, McFly. Hello.
God love you, Steven.
I guess they don't hear me. They must have fallen asleep or went and did something, went and left the room or something.
Anybody
Anyways,
home?
anybody home? Think, McFly, think.
Oh yeah, she also has a very raw throat from throwing up blood. Also keep Lizzie's adopted family in your prayers. Her mother's now going through, her adopted mom's now going through an AFib problem too. So it's crazy. No, we just found out about her mom, and then we just got the results from Lizzie's today. It's like JJ. But of course, her mom's 80-some years old. 80 in September. Okay. Well.
Dottie, Jen, are you guys there? Hello. Hello. Think, McFly, think. Hello. Anyways, all right. Well, if you don't mind, I'd like to just play a little bit of the acoustic for our viewers, just to kind of like put a little fill in there till they know, till we know that they're back. I mean, you've heard me play, but I don't think our viewers have heard me play. So I'm just gonna play a little something that I wrote.
Hey, Steven, they're muted. They gotta unmute themselves.
I know. I don't even know if they can hear me. They're not responding. So I don't know. I don't know where they are.
Did you send a message in the chat, maybe?
Well, I mean, they should be able to hear me, that they're muted, you would think.
You think, unless
I don't know where they went. I'll send them a message.
It says they're muted and their videos are off.
All right. Well, that's all right. We'll just see when they. All right, there we go. I just sent them both a message saying you're muted. You're muted.
I just sent a message and told them that.
All right, all right, sounds good. I'm just gonna play some guitar for our viewers just for a minute until they come on.
Sounds good. I don't know what's going on, Steven.
Anyways, folks, I thought our viewers might enjoy that. Dottie, Jen, are you there? Hello, hello, hello.
I'm here.
There you are. Where are you guys? I was asking you. Put your 2 cents in on Liz's updates.
Huh?
Where'd you guys go? I was trying to get your attention for like a good solid 10 minutes.
My dog. I had to take care of my dog.
Oh, okay. Go ahead. Well, you want to give your 2 cents on Liz's updates? No, we just heard briefly.
Oh, that they need to go and read that AFCC.net. They'll learn a lot about.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's a good idea.
Because they have some key players in that they mentioned where their kids were taken. So it might be helpful to them. They should go check that out.
I'll link it to you guys, Dan and Liz, a little bit later, okay? And I'll also put it in the description for our viewers as well. It's a useful resource for anybody that's going through this kind of CPS and family court corruption.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
AFCC.net. There's a lot of good information in there.
Was there anything else we wanted to cover, Angie, today?
Yeah, I found these 2 videos. It's about the place my daughter was at. So I don't know. I just wanted to share this one video.
Yeah, go for it. Share your screen, show our viewers. Don't
Um,
forget to share your sound too.
You know, because they took my custody from me, and this is where her dad sent her, you know. So this is the kind of places our kids are ending up with these abusers.
Doesn't it, don't they have a federal docket for human trafficking? Isn't there a federal docket that they're well, I'm not sure if it was dismissed.
Yes,
or
they have a lawsuit
Is
for
that
child
the same
laboring
thing?
and trafficking.
Interesting. And are they still going? I mean, is it
Yeah.
are they still running the business?
Yeah,
of
it's
child
still
trafficking,
in.
huh? Yeah, the business of child trafficking. Interesting. No, I didn't hear the case. My stuff is in and out, so I don't know. I didn't hear enough to be able to give any input. So my sound is
No worries. No
sketchy.
worries.
Maybe you guys can keep like.
Make sure you share your sound, Dottie.
We can't hear.
Imagine you're a teenager enjoying high school and then you are plucked out of your life with no warning, put in a van and taken to the middle of the woods. You're in another state with strangers. You're not allowed to ask questions or make friends. The only thing you're told is that if you behave, you'll be able to go home sooner. You're confused, disoriented, hurt, angry, hungry, lonely, scared, cold, exhausted. You're already in survival mode. So desperate to leave, you'll do anything. So you try to be good to get it over with, like they said. Then you're taken to these cabins in the middle of nowhere. You're allowed to talk to your family. You do hard labor from sunrise to sunset. If you resist, they'll add more time to your stay. They tell you you'll only earn a phone call if you do exactly what you're told. So you obey just so you can get to that phone call so you can beg your parents to take you home. You're being treated like an animal. You sleep on the floor, go to the bathroom with the door open, and slave away all day. You're dirty and verbally abused by the staff. All this does is motivate you more to do what you're told and get out. A month and a half, you finally get your phone call. You're shocked when you walk into the room, the counselor's on the phone with you and says he'll end the call if you say anything negative. I've been told beforehand that you will lie and make up things to get them to take you home. Your parents tell you you can come home as soon as you change. You realize the only way out is to fake your way through the program. Desperate to go home, you become the model client. You put a smile on your face and go above and beyond because you want to convince your parents you're a changed person. You tell your parents you've come to Jesus and are ready, all while knowing inside this is what you have to do to survive. Months and months pass of the same exact thing every single day. You've gained a little trust and gotten to level 2 and are now allowed to sleep on a bed. But nothing you do is ever good enough. They know you're faking it. Shame, punish, and humiliate you to break your will down like a horse. To a goat to break you out of your stubbornness. Tie you to older patients who have to tell you exactly what to do so you can erase every part of yourself and become like them. It infuriates them that you aren't easily brainwashed, so they silence and isolate you for months. Being isolated finally breaks you, along with the counselor convincing you in every session that you are worthless and will never be good enough. You don't even remember who you are anymore. All you know is you have to do whatever it takes to get out. This time you go above and beyond and act like the older girls. You snitch on everyone, you memorize the Bible, you suck up to staff, and tell your parents all your secrets. That stuff doesn't matter anymore anyway. The fact that you are now willing to throw anyone under the bus for yourself convinces them that you've changed. You've become the type of person you despise. It works. You get to level 2 and you get a visit after 10 months. You've seen other girls come back from their visit and have to start the entire program over and add a year to their time, so you knew to be careful. You're allowed to leave for the day with your parents. You were forced to tell them your entire sex inventory and all your social media passwords. And you all have to promise if you say anything negative about Trinity, then you weren't ready, come back and start the program over. Parents were told privately that you'll lie and not to listen to a word you say. When you're finally alone, you test your parents and try to tell them what's going on. They quickly shut you down and say, I guess you're not ready for this. We should take you back. So you let it go. It's your first day in a year that you can sleep, eat food, talk normally. You can't go back early. At this point, you've convinced yourself you are worthless and you deserved it all anyway. Either tell them and risk starting the program over or tough it out for a few more months and just go home.
What is going on in the state of Wyoming that is still allowing this place to operate?
Trinity Teen Solution. Or Trinity Teen Solution. 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 Trinity Teen Solutions. Trinity Teen Solutions.
Despite report after report coming in, Wyoming DCFS has refused to do anything other than tell them to change their bad policies and give them a slap on the wrist.
That if you were caught sneaking a crumb off the counter, you would be punished for it. I was forced to strip down naked, squat and
I was in solitary for 2 months. It was horrible. It was
level 1. You had 2-minute showers.
they could have just like grabbed my arm or something. No, they tackled me to the ground.
You sit in a metal chair in the corner away from the group. You can't speak, you can't read, you can't write, you cannot do anything.
And sitting and staring at a wall all day, look at the studies will make you crazy. So eventually most people ended up complying. One of these other two staff members just going, tackling her to the ground. And anytime I'd get one staff off of one of my arms and the other one off, another one would, this other one would grab on. And it turned into like four of each of them grabbing like a hand or a foot. So I was being restrained by 4 different people and just like carried over to sleep cabin by my arms and legs.
I felt like I was still putting in as much effort, and during that next Holy Cowgirl, they took away a lot of girls' goals.
But basically I had to earn privileges such as my bed and toothpaste and food.
Got their rights taken away. I was removed from their custody and placed in the foster care system. So my parents worked with a lawyer to try to find a way to get me back. And they suggested that I go to Trinity. But they had told us that we were not legally adults in Wyoming until 21, so we couldn't leave. I had this big scar going like this on my forehead. I had little scars from where the rocks dug into my face from the gravel.
Like, oh, she needs stitches, and she has a concussion, and they were like, she's fine. So they took me back to the ranch, didn't get the stitches, and then they gave me ibuprofen, and they put me right back to work.
They really liked giving me lines. It's exactly what it sounds like. I will not do this over and over and over again. A couple of the girls got caught passing notes, and I received 1,000 lines.
Never suicidal before. I never thought about killing myself or hurting myself, and this experience made me.
We were so hungry and obsessed with food that we would be banned from speaking about it.
Despite being under criminal investigation since 2019, Trinity remains open today.
Maggie did a really good job in this video, but they didn't even get a slap on the wrist. They had no consequences at all.
There you go. Yeah, that was the facility that they sent Angie's daughter to, you guys.
Is she saying that they didn't win their lawsuit? Is that what she's talking about at the end? Because I haven't.
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I haven't heard one, but she said at the end that they didn't even get a slap on the wrist.
Oh wow! Play that last segment
Because
again.
these are the girls from that lawsuit.
This is the first time I saw my family in over a year.
These women are part of that lawsuit.
Oh wow! Okay, so this must be one part of their video then.
Yeah, these are the women on that class action. But at the end, she says that they didn't even get a slap on the wrist. So did they not?
This is the first time I saw my family in over a year.
Did they not win?
Why couldn't I tell them what was going on?
I'm not sure. We'll have to do some digging and find out.
Yeah, I have to look. I have to check into it.
With food that we would be banned from speaking about it.
Despite being under criminal investigation since 2019, Trinity remains open today.
Maggie did a really good job in this video, but they didn't even get a slap on the wrist. They had no consequences at all.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that.
Yeah, for sure. Was there anything else we wanted to touch base on before we wrap up the show?
No.
Cool. Great show, you guys. Thank you everybody for joining, and we will be doing we got a potential interviews coming up soon. So we're gonna have some new guests with for you guys in the upcoming shows on Sunday's show. So be looking forward to that. Also check out our News for Us World Fringe Division podcast, where we talk about topics such as UFOs, ghosts, paranormal, et cetera, other topics that some may consider to be fringe. That's why we created that podcast, for that particular line of topics. It's one of my favorite. I love stuff like that. And also check out our News for Us World tips, techniques, and survival traits on Fridays. This upcoming Friday, we're going to be going in depth into the Chinese investment document into Afghanistan that we covered on episode 17 of tips, techniques, and survival traits. Plus, we'll be going over our recap on episodes 16 and 17 via a recap article I put together for you guys, and it'll cover all the evidence, everything in one place for you guys to find. We're going to be exposing even more angles and more proof of the biolabs and connections to China as well. So be looking forward to that. And this Wednesday, what are we going to be airing for our viewers, Dottie? Go ahead and tell them.
I don't know. The paranormal stuff?
Yeah, the EVPs, remember?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, what we shared with you guys tonight on tonight's show, just briefly, with those EVPs, we'll be playing the full 45. Well, you want the full 45 minutes, or right?
I don't know. We might, yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how much we get done in time, but I don't see why we shouldn't be able to get it all done in time, because we already got 10 minutes of it done. So
I want to find some stuff out about this house.
Yeah, no, we're gonna do some digging too for you guys and see what we can corroborate from the EVPs, and see if we can use that as some leads, and see if we can verify some of the information, and see if it matches up with what the voices are saying. That would be fascinating.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you.
Yep, thank you. I'm going to play our outro now. And so good night, everybody. Don't forget to follow our pages and subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, and Telegram. Good night, everybody.